It's Bible study time, you all, and I am excited about tonight. I am on my second try with this, so I'm very encouraged. But we're going to keep it short and sweet. And we are reading today out of Numbers, the book of Numbers, chapter 22, starting at verse 2, going all the way down to verse 18. And then we'll pause from verse 18 and resume chapter 24 all the way down to verse from chapter 24 verse 1 all the way down to verse 13. Okay, so we're gonna keep this short and sweet, and we're gonna welcome the Spirit of God to assist me in the interpretation of the word. Father and Mother, I come before you, your humble and your loving servant. Please cover me with your love and your attention. I ask that you use me as a vessel to pour forth your word into the children. Speak through me. Give me the gift of discernment and discerning your word, speaking the truth to all those that will hear. I love you so deeply and I thank you. Amen. All right, y'all. All right, so I went on and on and on with the first video. This is kind of like the rhythm of this. I did this last time as well. So we're going to fine tune it. And I'm not frustrated. Last time I was frustrated. We're not going to do that. I'm going to drink me a little water. And I'm going to keep it pushing. Because that's what we do, right? Right? I was just thinking before I go into this, I was just thinking, how fortunate are we as a group of people? On my last video, I started off with music and just to get the vibration there, but I'm already there. And I'm just floating off of the vibe of Thanksgiving, of gratefulness. Us as the children to be here and to be the descendants of such mighty people. All of them that have come before us, all of them we are banking on today. All of them. I don't care who you are. You are better off because of who you come from. All the great sacrifices of the people that are in this book. This book is a story of a history of a people. It is not some pie in the sky. This is a real life perspective of what was going on amongst the people when God ordained himself as God of these children. And it's a story of their many travels. It's a story of the political climate. And you cannot interpret this word just by reading this book. You can't. You'll get some of it, but you have to get the understanding of the climate that was going on politically, regionally, to the people that are being spoken to in this book. From a political perspective and from a spiritual perspective. Because these people were deeply spiritual. This is deep spirituality. And it's really a phenomenal story on many levels. So I'm just going to lead with that. Let's start. Chapter 22, verse 2. And Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at that time. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor to Petor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessed is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed, and the rewards of and the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. They left with money to give this individual to curse and to do spiritual work against the children. And they came unto Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. Balaam is the man that they went to go see to curse the children of Israel. And God came unto Balaam and said, What man are these with thee? God came unto Balaam. Remember that. And Balaam said unto God, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covereth the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them, peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out. And God said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you into your land, for the Lord refuses to give me leave to go with you. He told him, Go back home. The Lord will not allow me to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak and said, Balaam refuseth to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes more and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For I will promote thee unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me these people. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak will give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God, to do less or more. Now therefore I pray you, tarry ye also here this night, that I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. Let's go further. We're skipping to chapter 23. And Balaam said unto Balak, Build me here 7 altars. Build me here 7 altars. And prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, and Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. They both did it. And Balaam said unto Balak, Stand by the burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure the offering will come to meet me, and whatsoever he sheweth me, I will tell thee. And he went to a high place. And God met Balaam, and he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, Return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak. And he returned unto him, and lo, he stood by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab. And he took up his parable and said, Balak the king of Moab hath brought me from Aram out of the mountains of the east, saying, Come, curse me Jacob, and come, defy Israel. Come on now. How shall I curse whom God hath not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom the Lord hath not defied? For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob and the number of the fourth part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his. And Balak said unto Balaam, what hast thou done unto me? I took thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast blessed them altogether. And he answered and said, must I not take heed to speak that which the Lord hath put in my mouth? And Balak said unto him, come, I pray thee, with me unto another place, from whence thou mayest see them. Thou shalt see but the utmost part of them, and shalt not see them all. And curse me them from thence. This is the second time he told him to come on. I want you to see him from another perspective. Let's go to another mountain. And he brought him into the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And he said unto Balak, stand here by the burnt offering while I meet the Lord yonder. And the Lord met Balak and put a word in his mouth, and said, go again unto Balak and say this. And when he came to him, behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab with him. And Balak said unto him, what hath the Lord spoken? And he took up his parable, and said, rise up, Balak, and hear. Hearken unto me, thou son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he hath blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time it shall be as of Jacob and as of Israel. What hath God wrought? Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drink of the blood of the slain. And Balak said unto Balaam, neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all. But Balaam answered and said unto Balak, told not I thee, saying, all that the Lord speaketh must I do? He said, don't curse him and don't bless. Don't do nothing. If you can't curse him, don't bless him. Just don't do nothing to him. Listen. And Balaam answered and said unto Balak, told not I thee, saying, all that the Lord speaketh must I do? And Balak said unto Balaam, come, I pray thee, I will bring thee into another place. Peradventure it will please God that thou mayest curse me them from this. Third time, he gonna take him to another mountain up high to see him in another direction, to see if it's fit for God to curse them. See if God can find a way to justify cursing them. And Balak brought Balaam unto the top of Peor, that looketh toward Jeshimon. And Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 bullocks and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not, as at other times, to seek enchantments, but he set his face towards the wilderness. He looked off in the distance. And Balaam lifted up his eyes and saw Israel abiding in his tents, according to their tribes. And the Spirit of God came upon them. He saw a vision with his eyes open. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. Hallelujah. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, and thy tabernacles, O Israel. As the valleys are they spread forth as gardens by the riverside, as the trees of line aloes, which the Lord hath planted, and as the cedar trees besides the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath as it were the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through his arrows. He couched and he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth thee. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I call thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore now flee thou to thy place. I thought to promote thee into great honor, but lo, the Lord hath kept thee back from honor. And Balaam said unto Balak, spake I not also to thy messengers, which thou sentest unto me, saying, if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of the Lord, to do either good or bad of mine own mind. But what the Lord saith, that will I speak. Hallelujah. Thank you, Father and Mother. Woo! All right. So, let's talk about it. Little reverse on this. So, this Balak individual is of the nation of Moab. Okay? He is a Moabite. Now, he is the son of Zipporah. When I read that, I immediately thought of Zipporah, which is Moses' wife, who is the daughter of Jethro. Okay? So when I saw Zipporah, I thought, oh, is this Zipporah's brother? Are they from the same lineage? They are not. But they are of the same brotherhood. Okay? This is what I was missing in my last video. They are of the same brotherhood. They are of the Midianites. Okay? So, Midian is the son of Abraham. Abraham had 3 wives. He had Sarah, he had Hagar, and he had Keturah. Midian is is the son of Keturah and Abraham. Okay, so they are all covered under the same covenant. Now, you got to know what's going on in this region. Israel is knocking them back, okay? Israel then came out of Egypt by way of Moses. They're in the wilderness, okay? In order for Moses to get the children out of Egypt, he had to flee Egypt because he killed an Egyptian, okay? Moses is a Hebrew itself, but because Pharaoh made an ordinance all over Egypt to kill all the men, the male children of the Hebrews, he was hidden by his mother. and sent down the river. And thank God for Miriam, who protected him. She led him to Pharaoh's daughter, who took Moses and grew him in the house of Pharaoh. Okay, let's go back. Remember, all of this is, you gotta remember what's going on. Remember Joseph, who was raised by his father in love, then sold into slavery by his brothers, and then went from pillar to post, and then ended up being a great man of God in Egypt. And the primary reason these children were able to grow and flourish into a mighty nation. Okay, Moses, same way. Moses, as a baby, is snatched from his mother, sent down a river, taken in by Pharaoh's daughter, grew up in the palace, knew the ways of the Egyptians, but he knew he was a Hebrew because he had his sister Miriam. Miriam is a rider. Okay, she's rolling with Moses through it all, and she never left his side. But, well, nonetheless, Moses ends up killing an Egyptian because he's protecting a Hebrew. This is symbolic because in him protecting a Hebrew, he comes back the next day and he sees two Hebrews fighting each other, and he says, "Stop it." And they turn on him and say, "Oh, what you gonna do? You kill us like you did the Egyptian yesterday?" So he knows that the Hebrews are talking. Seem like the Hebrews might be a little messy. You know what I'm saying? They talking and there's gossiping, and there's no real unity, because if it was, they would have kept that amongst each other. So Moses leaves Egypt and he flees and he goes to a water well. Now, something about these water wells that keep popping up when, these great men of God go to these water wells and they meet women and make them their wives. Well, I started to think about it. I Googled it. I couldn't find nothing. And I just was pondering it. And I was like, you know what? That water well thing is probably a meeting place of women. I mean, we got clubs and we got bars and we got networking events, and we got, some people even meet people in church. You got people that meet people in different work environments. Well, back then, water well probably was a spot. You probably had water wells that were a little bit more jankier, or whatever you want to call it, than others. You had probably high class water wells where, your Boazes and your Jesuses probably went to, and then you had probably low class ones where it was a little shady. And then a lot of times I think it was the time you went to the well too that mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like the time of the day you went. So when Moses went to the water well, he sees these women being mistreated, and he takes up for them. This speaks to Moses' nature. Moses is consistently taking up for the underdog. He don't have to. Moses was living good in Egypt. He didn't have to take up for his brothers, his Hebrew brothers, and slay that Egyptian. He took a risk and it changed his life. Moses is compassionate. Moses is a compassionate man. And so he takes up for these women, and these women run back home to their father, and they tell him there was this Egyptian man, or Hebrew, whatever they called him. He took up for us at the water well. And his father, and it perplexed me as to their father's response. It always perplexed me. And Jethro's response was, "Well, invite him. Tell him to come over. You didn't get his number?" And I always wondered, why did he say that? This is the priest of Midian. This is a high-ranking official. You just inviting people over to your house just because they taking up for your daughter? And then, first of all, why was your daughter being attacked at the water well if she is the daughter of a high-ranking official? Wouldn't they know to leave her alone? Well, Jethro, you got to understand who Jethro is, y'all. Okay? So remember, this is when Moses leaves Egypt. This is before the Exodus. Moses leaves. He's at the water well. Take up for the girls. The girls go back home. The father invites Moses to the house. Okay. Why Jethro invited them to the house is because during that time, Jethro was prior to that working in Egypt himself. Jethro is of the line of Abraham. Remember, I told you Midian is of Abraham and Keturah. So he is of that line. Jethro's line of ancestors are all sages. They're highly spiritual people. They knew the Torah. They knew of Yahweh. Jethro knew of the God Yahweh. He knew. He worked with Balaam, which is the man that this individual Balak of Moab is soliciting to curse the children. Balaam is a priest himself, because in order to be able to curse someone, you had to be a high-ranking priest to do it. A priest is somewhat like a shaman, what you would call, but a real masterful person that knew how to work in spirit. You got to remember that during this time, all of these people worship multiple gods. It was the norm. It was out of the norm to worship one God, as these children that Moses would go and fetch out of Egypt would be led to do. So when Moses ends up with Jethro, Jethro knows all of this. Jethro is a highly spiritual guy. Him and Balaam pretty much are neck to neck. They are the type of people that you hire to do spiritual work for you. They solicit their services for money. This is at a time in the world where there was no TV. We didn't get lost on the nonsense. People were really invested in spirituality. Spirituality was the bank. It was the commodity. And it was really who you were aligned with spiritually that made the world of difference. It wasn't about your job. It wasn't about your husband or your wife and this and that. It was about the gods that you honored and that you worked directly with. That was really the glue of it all. And Jethro was a mighty man of spirit. So he knew of this God Yahweh, as did many, because when Moses came, Jethro offered him up his daughter to wife, but he fashioned it in the way that Lathan, Rachel and Rebecca's father did to Jacob. So he knew all of the history. He knew of Jacob. See, many of us go around like, didn't nobody know? These people knew. You remember, you got to know. Midian is of the Levant. The Levant is Canaan. All of these different tribes are all within one real small region. The Philistines, the Canaanites, the Israelites, the Midianites, the Moabites, all of these people are very close to one another. The Amorites, the Og and Bashan, and all these people are close. Phoenicia, is it not the Phoenicians that helped King Solomon in the Temple of Solomon and the Temple of Israel? We're not, you got to connect it. You have to know the history. This book makes sense when you can understand the history, when you understand what was going on spiritually and religiously. I mean, spiritually and historically. So I don't want to get lost. So Jethro has Moses. Moses marries Zipporah. Oh, Cush, a woman of Cush. These are people of Cush. So Moses spends over 40 years with Jethro and Zipporah in Midian. All Moses knew before he got to Midian was Egypt. So Moses goes from being snatched away from his mother. He goes to living in Pharaoh's house. And then he goes to having to flee overnight. And then he ends up with this new family in Midian. Same thing, kind of rhythm of Joseph. Same way. So Jethro mentors Moses. Jethro counsels Moses. Jethro is extremely important to who Moses is as a man. Moses spent most of his life with Jethro. He spent all the years of his adult life before he went back to Egypt to take them children. Moses is introduced to the God of Israel through Jethro. Not to say that Jethro did not honor and worship multiple gods. He did. This was the primary theme of all the nations, as all the nations did. Remember, worshiping one God was unheard of. It was not heard of. It was blasphemous. So Jethro knew of everything of this God, Yahweh. He knew. And he taught it to Moses and introduced it, actually, to Moses. Moses didn't know nothing about it. He knew some of it because the children were up under them in Israel through Jacob. I'm willing to bet Jacob knew Jethro. I'm willing to bet any kind of money. Because before the children came to Egypt, where were they? They were in the Levant. They was in Canaan. Nonetheless, Moses go back to Egypt. He had two problems. One, convincing Pharaoh to let the children go, and two, convincing the children to go. This just occurred to me over reading this text because I've been reading my Bible, but I've been really reading it now. And I've read it many times, but I'm just really reading it now. And these children, you think these children was easy to convince to leave the luxury of Egypt? Do you? If you read the text from the just the movement of them, these children are very vocal. They gonna buck. They gonna complain. They gonna argue. That's them. You don't think it was probably harder convincing these children to leave Egypt than it was convincing Pharaoh. I'm willing to bet any kind of money. But once he got the people to buy in, it was a wrap. Pharaoh was difficult, but it wasn't nothing because God handled that. Them children. Also, think of who Moses is. Moses, they said Moses was 15 feet tall. Moses was tall. Moses didn't have a lot of faith in himself. That's why he brought Aaron on. Aaron wasn't supposed to be in the picture. Moses brought Aaron on because he didn't have enough faith in his own self to communicate and to handle these children. Look, anybody that can lead these children is hats off to them. I've led sales teams. I've been on sales teams of these children. I've led them. You gotta be just like them. Because look, they not the one. They are a very rambunctious crowd. Look, Moses said when he went and struck the rock, he called them some rebels. He was right. They some rebels. That's why God needed them. See, all of these things that we look at as bad about these children, if you direct it in the right way, can't nobody come close to them. There is no competition. None. Okay, so let me keep going. So we see what happened. Moses was 40 plus years with Jethro. Jethro is a Midian. Midian also is Midian was one of the children of Abraham, but also Midian is like a brotherhood. I hate to say this because I'm trying to create a way for you to see it, but if you look at any inner city across the area, across the United States, they're broken down into different divisions amongst the people that live in them cities. In LA, they're gangs. You know what I'm saying? Like you got Crips and you got Bloods and you got these and you got, but predominantly it's Crips and Bloods. Think of it like that. This region of LA is mostly this, and this region of LA is mostly that. That's kind of how it was when you say Midian. Okay? To give you a visual of it. And if you're in another state, it could be another term, whatever you break it down as. But you can kind of get a visual of it. And you didn't have, you know, when you said you were from this particular group, that it covered a particular region. So you knew that area. And you knew within that area, you know, certain things they do, certain things. It was like that. Okay? So when we look at this text, when the brothers say, and Balak the son of Zippor saw that Israel had done what Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. They was fearful of them. Same way they wasn't in Egypt. Everybody's scared of these kids. I'm telling you, everybody is scared of them. They are a rambunctious group of people. If you read this book, these people are, you really have to be a certain way to deal with them because they will overcome you if you're not. You're going to have to deal with them like them or bow down to them. It's kind of like that. So Moab, the people of Moab are governed by a man named Balak. So Balak is afraid of him, and Balak is like, look, he got together with the elders of the Midian. He got together with all of the group of this region. When he say that, think of Midian. When he say Balak got together with the elders of Midian, he's saying, like I just said, you break it down into gangs. He got to the head of the particular gangs within the region, and they had a meeting, and they said, we got to do something about this. You know what I'm saying? He's saying, and Moab said unto the elders of Midian, all the elders of the gang in the region, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at that time. So he's saying, we gotta do something about this, but they're gonna come and get after us like they done did Sihon and the rest of them. Because prior to this passage, the children is knocking them back, baby. The children is taking no prisoners. They being nice. They done came upon Sihon and they came upon Og, which are the king of the Amorites and the Amaleks. And they said, we just want to pass through your region. We're not going to drink none of your well water unless we really, really have to. And we're not going to really stop. We're going to go on the highway and we're going to stay out of your fields and your vineyards. Can we pass through? And they said no, because they were afraid. They said, no, you can't even come through here. So they said, okay, well, we asked. You know, we asked you, could we come through? But since you don't want us to come through, you're going to bow down. You're going to bow down. And he laid them back. These are giants. These are people that offer in high. These are tall. These are the Goliaths. These people taller than Goliath that David knocked back. Israel knocked them all back. All of them left. It say here, so they smote him and his sons and all his people until there was none left him alive, and they possessed his land. They taken them back with no prisoners and inheriting their land. So these people of the Moab see this, and they get together with the Midians, the group of the group of the gang of the region, and they said, we got to do something. And they said, the only thing we can do, we got to get a witch. We got to get a powerful man of spirit to curse them, because there's nothing we can do to attack them. We are not strong enough to attack them. So they get Balaam. Now, like I said, Balaam is neck to neck with Jethro. Basically, Jethro can do exactly what Balaam can do. Jethro is of the Midian, though, right? But so is Balaam, so basically. But Jethro is on the side of Moses. So they couldn't call Jethro. Jethro wasn't going to work it. They called Balaam. And Balaam did as much as he could. But what perplexed me about this was when they called Balaam, Balaam consulted with God. In order for you to consult with a God or consult with the Spirit, you got to have a relationship. I just told you. This God, Yahweh, this God of Israel, was known throughout the regions. It wasn't like they didn't know. They knew. It was just that they did not honor only him. They showed honor to any and everybody that could get it done. There was no favoritism. And that is the requirement of this God of Israel. Don't play with him. You're going to have to be committed only to him. And that's that. And see, these men knew that. So they kept the relationship cool. Because one thing about this God of Israel, he ain't going to force you to be his child. He's not going to force you to convert to him. It's your choice. Now, once you convert, there are rules to this. There's a structure to this system that you got to adhere to, which is the same amongst many of these gods. Some of them have tighter structures than others. This particular God of Israel got a tight structure. And they respected it. They respected it so much that they just did enough to keep them cool. Jethro did enough to respect the relationship, to honor the covenant, to propel Moses to the man that he was, and to send him forward. Jethro never overstepped his boundaries. You don't see Jethro too much in the scriptures. You see him a few times. Twice. He comes when Moses is in the wilderness, and he looks around and he sees things and he say, well, no. He can empathize with everybody. He can empathize with Moses. Moses is sitting there on the throne, and all the children is lined up by the thousands to see him. In the heat, in the cold, in the whatever. Lined up. Because remember, the children were a mighty nation. That's why nobody wanted no problems with them. So if you had a problem, you would go to Moses to get it fixed. So you mean to tell me you got all these hundreds of thousands of children? And you mean to tell me that line wasn't long to see Moses? When Jethro came to see Moses, he said, man, too much going on here. I see all these people in line to see you. Then I see you sitting up here on the throne like you better than the people a little bit. It's not good. It's not good for you, and it's not good for the people. He could empathize with everybody. He said, you need to delegate. Why was that the first time somebody told Moses to delegate? You would have thought somebody else would have told him that. You would have thought that Moses would have knew that from coming out of Egypt. Maybe he couldn't do that. Maybe only Jethro could tell him that. You see what I'm saying? Jethro knew the Torah. Jethro is not outside of this covenant. And my thing is, when Jethro told him to delegate, it doesn't say in the text that Jethro got a word from God. And God spoke to Jethro and said it was okay. And nor did it say, and I might be wrong, y'all correct me, that Moses asked God, could he? He just did it after what Jethro told him. After Jethro told him that, he just began to do it. This is what's so strange to me about Jethro, because everything else Moses asked God about. Everything. And that was the first set of judges amongst the children. That was a big deal. And you mean to tell me you're just going to take that from Jethro, Zipporah's dad, who's not even under the title a child of Israel? Because Jethro was the hand behind Moses. Jethro was the mentor. Jethro was the counselor. Jethro never stepped out of his role. He never got out of his lane. He stayed in his lane. And because of that, he was honored by God. God didn't have no problems with him. And he was able to be at peace with the children of Israel. Jethro lived a good life. So let's move on. Okay, let's move on. Okay. I want to go so many ways with this. I don't want to just get off on Jethro, because Jethro was a magician too. Keep telling y'all. A lot of people talking that's witchcraft. Jethro was a magician. Big as day. This Balaam guy that Balak has called forward to curse the children, magician. So, nonetheless, the scripture says that Balak asked him 3 times to curse the children. Each time he asked him, go up high, get an aerial perspective of these children, and tell me what you see. And every time it was the same thing. God is with these children. These children are blessed. I can't do nothing to these children. Go again up on this mountain and look at them from 7 different perspectives. Remember, he built 7 altars on each mountaintop. You at the top of a mountain looking at a people from 7 different directions. Each time it's the same thing. 7 times 3 is 21. He saw 21 perspectives of these children from up high. And every time it was the same thing. This scripture, and I'm going to keep it simple, is that when God is with you, regardless to what it looks like to the world, no weapon formed against you will prosper. When God is with you, regardless to what it looked like to the world. People, see, when you are a witch or a shaman or whatever you want to call it, someone that knows how to manipulate energy, someone that knows how to work in spirit, a lot of times those people don't consult with God. Those people take it upon themselves to go out and do all sorts of things against people because it's what they do. We live in a world now where many people are not spiritually strong. Many people don't take the time to forge a spiritual relationship with God. So you're walking around and you're able to be manipulated by the wiles of people, of witches, of sorcerers, of all kinds of people. You don't have no covering. But this man Balaam knew better. He said, "Now I'm gonna go consult with God because I don't know. I'm not gonna put myself in a twist because of you. Because if Balak didn't know that the hand of God was on the children, he wouldn't have been so worried about them. He was worried because he knew the hand of God was all over him, and he wanted to stop it. Remember, they all knew of this God of Israel. There were many gods at that time that were being acknowledged. Many. This is before Elijah comes on the scene. This is before that. Only real strong works that this God has shown to the world, to the nations, is what he did to get these children out of Egypt, which was monumental. Because what he did in Egypt was a slap in the face to a lot of these people. It put them all on alert. It rang the alarm in the spirit world and in this world for all them that work with spirit, because everybody worked with spirit at this time. And it said, wow. They got that God of Israel came and turned Egypt upside down for them children. So they respected it. But remember, it's all new. So a lot of this that's going on is out of fear. It wasn't that Balaam loved the God of Israel. I can't say that. I think he feared the God of Israel. He was afraid of him. Just like the children were. The children were afraid of the God of Israel at this point, because from the time they left Egypt up until now, much had been done. Yes, they had triumphs, but they had severe tragedies. God was not going for the mess of these children. It's like when you take in some kids and they're real young, you show them a lot of love, but they get out of line. You got to be strong with them too. It was like that. God had hit them with snakes, fiery serpents, hung them on trees, burnt them. I think he burnt them, if I remember correctly. Buried them in the ground, let the earth eat them up. I mean, these children done been through it. Came after him with the sword, if I'm not mistaken. You can't say these children probably were not afraid. They probably felt like this is a hostage situation, kind of. You know what I'm saying? This is a hostage situation. But, you know, they had to, it's the fine tuning. And the other part was that everything had to go through Moses and Aaron. They couldn't go and speak to God directly. And they were frustrated with it. They had to go through Moses. So, you know, there was a little bit of tension with that. As, you know, are you really speaking on our behalf? Or are you really looking to do your bidding? And we suffer because of it. Because if you communicate what we tell you wrong to this God, we're the ones going to have to deal with it. It was a lot. It was a lot. But nonetheless, the structure of this text, and I'm gonna end it because I'm going over, is that when God is with you, can't nothing come against you. And one thing about this God of Israel is that this God of Israel is courageous, baby. This God of Israel respects courage. This God of Israel, even if you are not with him, like Balaam and like Jethro, they worship multiple gods. They adhere to the old system, but they acknowledge this God of Israel. The fact that they were honest about it and straightforward about it, but respectful in their interactions with the children and interactions with this God of Israel, God honored it. The thing with Aaron at this point has died. The God of Israel ended up killing Aaron because of many things, but the last straw was when Moses and Aaron went to get water out of a rock. There was no water, and the children were complaining. And Moses and Aaron went out of frustration, spoke to the children and called them some rebels, and went and did more than they were told to do by God. God told them to speak to the rock and the water would come out of the rock. But Moses and Aaron, Moses didn't speak to the rock. He struck it. He spoke to the children and then struck the rock. And God told them that they would not enter into the promised land. All they had done was to no avail, because they would never reach the promised land. And God took Aaron's blessing basically and gave it to a son, and Aaron died. And I sat with that for a while, and I said, dang, that's really something else. You know, that's tough. But I thought about that for a while. And I had to look back at Aaron. Who was Aaron as a man? The only reason Aaron was included was because Moses was not confident in himself. Had nothing to do with God, had to do with self-insecurities that Moses had, because he was a stutterer, he couldn't speak, he probably had low self-esteem, and he know the nature of these children. These children, y'all know, look, these children, could you imagine being amongst some rambunctious people that it's hard to really kind of deal with? You really got to be with what they with and really be with it to deal with them, for them to respect you. And you stutter, and you weren't really born around them. You were born in like a lap of luxury, and now you about to go and try to lead these people. He was afraid, and he was insecure. So God put Moses in on the deal. God put Aaron in on the deal. That's the only reason Aaron was included. But along the way, there were these inconsistencies with Aaron, like when Moses was on Mount Sinai, and the children were like, well, where is Moses? And Aaron was like, Aaron didn't have enough in him to stand in his role as a leader of these children and honor what God had told him. Aaron didn't see God face to face, only Moses did. So Aaron is getting the information from Moses, his brother. So Aaron should have known and had just as much faith as Moses did. But when he's left alone with these children, he succumbs to the wiles of the children. Nobody can stand up to these children. So Aaron is like, I don't know where Moses is. And he's like, well, you know what? He is gone a long time. Give me your earrings and give me your bracelets, and I'll make a golden calf. And then when Moses come back, he act like he didn't know what was going on. He was playing the middle role. And then when Miriam and him got together, they gossiping about Moses and Zipporah. You know, they hating low-key on Moses. So Aaron was a little, and God seen it. See, one thing about God will search you. You can't hide nothing. God know you better than you know you. And God will watch you. You won't even know it. You thinking you fooling somebody. You ain't fooling nobody but yourself. You wasting your own time. You'd be better off admitting it and saying, help me out of it. Help me be better. God will respect that than for you to be acting like it wasn't you. So God allowed Aaron to go on in transition and be put back in rotation. And now it's just Moses. And the children are they're halfway through the walk in the wilderness. And these people, they can't do nothing to them. They can't attack them physically because they get defeated. So what do? They try to curse him. But the man cannot curse him. And he knows, he respects this God of Israel enough to say, if I do curse this person, I'll be cursing myself. And ain't none of this that serious. Because if these people are hiring me and putting all this money on these people like this, and God has spoken to me every time and told me not to touch them, I probably shouldn't get involved. And he doesn't. But what he does in the end, and what I have found so interesting, and that I didn't read. Did I read it? No, I read it. Anyway, nonetheless, what I found so interesting was the last thing he said. He said, and now behold, I go unto my people, come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in later days. So what I got from, because eventually the Midianites, as you go further into the text, overcome Israel. And then Gideon and all of them. But this same Balaam, who would not curse Israel, sat up and thought about it. Because the nature of someone never leaves them. And this goes back to what I said about being a worker of iniquity, or being someone that goes out and just underhandedly works in the shadows, harming people, wishing negative on people. You got people out here like that. You got people in life that will smile at you and you'll think that it's all good and everything, and then they'll go home and do something really iniquitous against you. It's because that's what they know. They don't know anything else. And a lot of times it's a spirit that's leading them to do that. So this same Balaam individual knew he could not touch these children. But he's wise enough because he stood on top of 3 different altars. He stood on top and saw 21 different aerial perspectives of these children. Even if they weren't 21, because the third time he didn't go, he made it seem like he did. What he did was he saw a vision. So really he saw 15 perspectives of these children. He saw them in every angle within spirit as he could see. That is an advantage. So he knew he couldn't touch them physically. But it also opened him up to other ways that he could get after them. What people do When they know that they can't touch you physically, they try to find ways to get you to harm yourself. This is the craftiness. This is it. And that's what they did with the children. So he knew he couldn't attack the children. He knew if he did, God would come after him and it would be over for him. So he created avenues for them to harm themselves. He sent the Moabite women and then let them lay up under them. And the children began to worship idols by way of these women. And that is what happened. And God's wrath was all over because of it. So that's the message of you today. You know, the enemy will come for you on every front, friend. Every front. Gird yourselves. This is the meaning of gird yourself. You got to tighten yourself up from every angle. Every angle. Mentally, physically, spiritually, all of it. Because the enemy will not stop in trying to find a way in. And if he can't find a way in, the enemy will send vessels to get you to corrupt your own self. By any means necessary is the name of the game. The enemy don't care how it's done. He just need to get it done. But you must remember through it all that if God is with you and if you stay in alignment, he will make your enemies your footstools. And they will harm themselves each and every time they look to harm you. That's my message for today. I love y'all deeply. You love more than you'll ever know. We're one big family, one huge big family. We're all so connected. It's amazing. And all of them that have come before us have paved the way for all of us to be in our nows now. So whether you're feeling down, whether you're feeling defeated, whether you're feeling confused, whatever your feeling is, whether you're feeling great, whether you're feeling capable, whatever your feeling is, just know that greater is he or she that is within you than is within this world. And that greatness is all over you. So whether you're feeling great or whether you're feeling down, rest in that. Let that lift you. Know that many before you are with you in love. Many before you that are written in the pages of this book sacrifice for you to be as great as you are, have the potential to be now in this life. And it is your job to go out and pass on the blessing. How do you pass it on? Uplift somebody else. Share with somebody else. Be good to somebody else. And honor the integrity of your legacy. In love, I come before you. Peace and love.